throughout this video, I'm going to be explaining to you guys how I have gained 24 to 25 kilos of muscle within 3.5 years of training at 19 years old. And I want to run you through every little bit that you need to know, all the basics, and it's going to propel you. This video is going to propel you towards making progression as efficiently and as effectively as possible, as I'm going to be going through what you guys need to know. So before we get into this video, I just want to introduce myself to you guys, because you may not necessarily know who I am, and I think it's pretty important you do. So my name is Ryan, and throughout the last 3.5 years, I have taken myself from this in 2021 weighing 51 kilos to looking like this in 2024 when I was peak bulk and I was weighing 75 kilos. So over the span of 3.5 years, I have gained 25 kilos of muscle, and I want to teach you guys exactly how I have gained that much and how I've changed my physique, and I think it's really important, right? So I'm going to split this video into 4 main parts, and part 1, which I'm going to get into in a second, is about laying down the foundations, and then part 2 is about training and what you need to know about training at the start of your journey and how to build it up, and then the exact same with diet, which is going to be part 3, and then part 4 is about just being sensible and actually taking care, which I'll get into a little bit later. So without further ado, let's get into this video, because there's quite a bit to cover. Right, so first of all, you need to lay down the foundations, right? This is part 1 of the video. You need to lay down the foundations for yourself. There's no point in trying all the advanced stuff if you can't master the basic stuff first. Let me ask you a really quick question, right? How can builders build a house without laying down the foundation, without laying down the foundational bricks first? They can't. They've got to lay down the foundations, therefore they can build up from there. And that is exactly what you need to do with the gym. You need to build your foundations, which I'll get onto in a second, so you can eventually make the progress you want to make. And building the foundations first is going to propel you to achieving success. And remember, the gym is a long-term game, which I'll get into in a second as well, so you don't need to rush things. First of all, what I mean by building the foundations, so you don't want to delude yourself, right? You want to actually know how long it's going to take and what basically to expect from the gym in terms of how long it's going to take you to make good progression, right? And a lot of skinny young men and a lot of people, when they start the gym in general, it really upsets me how they really delude themselves into thinking that it takes a short amount of time to make progression, right? And especially with this generation as well, because this generation have access to so many things so easily, right? So with this generation, they want to delude themselves into thinking that it's pretty easy and it won't take too long to achieve their dream physique, because, as I said, they can access a lot of stuff really easily. Therefore, they think that they can think the exact same thing with the gym, and they think that a dream physique and a sculpted physique can come like that. It can be easily accessible and it won't take too much time. So what you need to realize is that good progress, and the progress that you want to make and a physique that you want to sculpt, if you want to sculpt that, it takes time. I have been going to the gym for 3.5 years for 5 days a week consistently, right? It takes a long time. The gym is a long-term game. The gym is a delayed gratification game. So you've got to realize that it takes time, and it doesn't happen. It won't happen in the next week. It won't happen in the next month. Yes, you'll see a little bit of progression, but you won't see the progression that you think you'll see. It takes years to sculpt your physique, right? And the second thing I want to go on to now is you've got to set yourself some goals. And I mean, set yourself some goals in the short term and the long term, because without goals, you don't have direction. And as I said at the start of the video, you may be feeling lost, and you may have a lack of direction, and you may not have a sense of the direction you're meant to go in and what to do and what to strive towards in order to achieve your dream physique, right? So obviously you want to set yourself long-term goals, but you want to set yourself short-term goals as well, so you know how you're going to get towards your long-term goals. I'll give you an example. So when I started the gym, it was a dream of mine to bench 140 kilos, and that is a very significant bench press, because that is 3 20-kilo plates per side. So that is a milestone, and that is a very, very big bench press, and that is a big number, 140 kilos. So I didn't necessarily just focus on that. I set myself short-term goals. So I set myself the short-term goals. When I started benching, my first 1 rep max was 57.5 kilos. I set myself the goal to get to 60, and then to get to 70, and then to get to 80. Obviously, I was doing 65 in between and 72.5 and all that in between. But then I was setting myself these short-term goals, and the more I was setting these short-term goals, the quicker I was achieving them, and the more driven I felt and the more motivated I felt. Therefore, I eventually benched 140 kilos, which I did at the beginning of this year. So it's so important that you set yourself goals, because you want to have a direction. Without a goal, life is chaos. And if you don't have a goal, then you're not going to know which direction you're in, you're not going to know which direction you want to go in and which direction to go in order to achieve the success you want to achieve. Not having a goal is like trying to drive somewhere that's an hour away that you've never drove to before. You want to have the directions, right? So if in relation to the gym, if you don't have the directions and if you don't know what you're going to do in order to achieve your dream physique and what goals you want to set in the short term in order to achieve the long term goals, then it's going to be a very messy and it's going to be a very long path to achieving your long-term success. And it's going to be, I mean, obviously it's a long path, but you're going to make it a lot longer and you're going to make it a lot harder for yourself. And the likelihood of you quitting is going to be very high if you don't have goals, because you don't have any direction. It's like, as I said, going back to that roadmap example and driving to somewhere an hour away where you don't know, right? The likelihood of you turning back home, I mean, the likelihood of you getting lost is very high. Therefore, you're probably going to give up on your journey and you're going to try and find a signal to get a map back home, right? So you've got to set yourself goals, because you need to have a direction and you need to pave your path towards achieving your goal. So making sure you set some short-term and long-term goals is absolutely crucial. And then thirdly, which I'm going to get onto, is you're going to take some progress pictures, right? This is how you lay down the foundations. And you may be thinking, how on earth does that have anything to do with achieving the dream physique? Well, you want to actually see where you've come from, right? You want to remember where you've come from, and when you actually make the progression and you take progress pictures in the future, when you've achieved a respectable physique and you put on a reasonable amount of muscle, you want to look back at your progress and think, you know what, I've put in the hard work and I deserve this. Taking progress photos gives you motivation, and it also holds you accountable. It also holds you accountable, and this is because when you take your progress photos, by the next time you come to taking those photos in the exact same position, in the exact same place, in the exact same lighting, you want to look bigger. You want to see a significant difference, right? So it holds you accountable to keep going. It obviously keeps you motivated because you want to come back better. You don't want to take progress photos, for example, in January 2024, and then when you come to taking progress photos in June 2024, you don't want to look back and you don't want to see the exact same person. You want to see a different person who's put on more muscle mass and who's grown more as a person, not just physically and mentally. So I would highly, highly encourage you to be taking your progress photos, relaxed progress photos. So just standing like normal in the mirror and tensing and posing. Take all of those progression photos, and I get into that in my school community. I've got a full video in the Start Here course explaining how to actually take your progress photos properly. So if you're interested in that, then the link is right there. But taking progress photos is so important for motivational purposes, and having motivation at the start of your gym journey is absolutely crucial, because the discipline isn't going to quite be there yet, right? So you've got to be able to keep your motivation as high as possible. Obviously, the motivation isn't going to be there all the time, and that's completely normal. Motivation fluctuates up and down, right? But taking progress photos, taking progress pictures just gives you motivation, and it holds you accountable to keep going and to better yourself every day and every week and every month and every year, right? So take your progress photos, and you won't, because I honestly regret not taking progress photos properly at the start of my journey, and it emphasizes your transformation as well, and it just makes your transformation look that much better when you put the progress photos together next to each other, because one different person was here and then a completely different person is here. And then number 4, in terms of building the foundation, so I kept it simple and I had a low demanding routine, and this is so important. And I had nothing advanced in my training. I had nothing complex. I kept it simple. I kept my diet basically the same. I didn't overcomplicate anything. I stuck to the same exercises. I had really low intensity. I was doing 3 sets of 12, for example, and it was really low demanding, and it wasn't as strict as the routine I have now. And this is super, super, super important when you start the gym. What's the point, right? What's the point in doing a strict routine and doing an advanced routine and doing a highly demanding routine if you can't stick to the gym for a month in the first place with a low demanding routine. You've got to build up that consistency, because consistency is what bridges the gap from you being that skinny young man now to achieving your dream physique. And if you can't build up consistency with a low demanding routine, with low intensity, simple exercises, keeping the diet the same, really low demanding and not strict at all, if you can't stick to that for longer than a month or two, then what's the point in doing an advanced routine? Because you're not going to stick to it, right? So you've got to slowly build it up, stick to the basics, and you've got to build the foundations. Again, how can builders build a house without building the foundations? They can't. They've got to lay down the foundations first. It's literally the same thing with this. What makes you think that you can commit to a high demanding routine at the start of your journey? You've got to build it up really slowly, okay? And this is so important. And you may be thinking, no, not low demanding. You've got to train to failure. You're a pussy. You're training to mid discomfort. You're training in a comfortable rep range, right? That's not the way to think about it. You've just got to get consistent with the gym first, because that is what everyone struggles with when they start the gym, just turning up to the gym when you're meant to. So have a low demanding routine. Do 3 or 4 sets of 12. Do some really simple exercises. Don't be doing really complex and advanced exercises with advanced technique. And don't be following training programs of people that have been going to the gym for 5+ years, because that's what they're doing now, and that's tailored around them, and that's what best for them, right? You didn't see what they were doing at the start of their gym journey. They were probably doing something completely different, keeping it really simple. So you've got to keep it simple, and you've got to do a really low demand, keep a low demanding workout schedule, because once you build this consistency, then you can look at making it more advanced and higher demanding with higher intensity training and all that stuff. So you've got to build it up from the bottom. And then the fifth thing that I want to talk about in terms of building a foundation is have accountability. For example, that could be through having an accountability partner, a gym partner, and starting with a gym with someone that's at the exact same level as you, or going with someone that's 3 years in advance, asking someone that you may not know him too well, but you go up to him and you say, like, I want to get into the gym and I see you're really good physique. Just, can I come with you, right? Can I come with you to the gym? Because I want to hold myself accountable. Because at the start of your gym journey, as I said, staying consistent is very hard, and staying consistent is, it takes time to build in it, right? But if you have accountability, and if you have an external reason to show up to the gym, then the likelihood of you committing and staying consistent and getting into a good routine and building the foundations and making progress is going to be a lot higher, right? So, for example, have someone to go to the gym with. Report to someone, that you do it every day. For example, one of my mates, in order to hold himself accountable to run 5Ks every single day of the week, he's messaging me and he's showing me his 5K run at the end of the day, every day of the next week, to hold him accountable in order to do it. Because he's got an external reason to do it. Even if he doesn't feel like it, he knows he's got to message me at the end of the day with his 5K time. And if he doesn't message me at the end of the day with his 5K time, then he's going to feel regret, and he's going to feel disappointed, and he's going to feel like he's let himself down. So having some form of accountability, whether that's through an accountability partner, messaging someone every day, talking them through how you've done it, is so important. So what I would highly suggest is you going to the gym with your mate, right? Starting at the same time. And I did this as well, and it really helped me at the start of my journey. This is me and my best mate in year 8, and we started the gym in year 11. I don't have any progress pictures of us, but this is us now. So, and we started at the exact same time, and we've basically been training together for 3.5 years. So it's so important that you have an accountability partner and you actually have someone to go with, because it's an external reason to actually go to the gym. And having an external reason to go to the gym and to do something at the start of your gym journey especially is a lot more powerful than doing it internally, because you don't have a good relationship with yourself yet. But that's a completely different video. So you've got to have an external reason. So have accountability, go with a gym partner. Yeah, it just makes it a lot easier to stay consistent, and for you to actually show up to the gym, right? Which is what you need to be doing at the start of your gym journey. So have accountability in some way, shape or form. And then the penultimate thing I want to talk about in relation to building your foundations is actually believe in yourself. You need to be able to believe that you can change your physique. You need to be able to believe that you can change for the better. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then you're not going to be showing up when you need to be. You're not going to be exercising as regularly as you need to be. Therefore, you're not going to be able to achieve the outcome that you want to achieve. So it's so important you actually have self-belief in yourself. So start saying to yourself that, oh, I'm going to be a completely different person in 6 months, and I can't wait to see myself in 6 months. This is always what I say to myself from a year's time. I'm about to enter my bulking phase, and I'm always saying to myself, oh, I can't wait to see what I'm going to be looking like next summer, or I'm reminiscing about the cut already, or I'm so excited to be lean on the beach next year, a lot bigger than I am now. You've got to be saying stuff like that to yourself, because you need to have confidence in yourself, and you need to have belief in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, then you're failing before you've even started, right? So you need to actually believe that you can change. You need to start saying to yourself that, oh, I'm going to be a completely different person in 6 months. I'm going to be a completely different person physically and mentally within a year. I'm going to start changing my life for the good from now. I'm so excited to be embarking on this journey. I'm going to be showing up even when I don't want to, because I believe in myself that much, okay? You need to be believing in yourself so you can actually carry out the things that are needed to be carried out in order to achieve the outcome. So if you have belief in yourself, you're going to be regularly exercising, you're going to be training hard, and you're going to be showing up even when you don't want to, which is going to lead to you eventually achieving the outcome, which is, you know, what you want to achieve, right? You gaining muscle, and you are well on your way towards sculpting your physique, right? So it's important you actually have self belief and you actually believe in yourself. And not many people think this is important with the gym, but you need to believe in yourself, because you're responsible for everything in your life and you're responsible for your actions. So how do you think that you're going to carry out what is needed to be carried out in order to achieve your dream physique? You need to believe in yourself so you can actually do the things that are needed to be done in order to achieve what you want to achieve. So it's so important that you have self-belief, and that closes part one of the video. So building the foundations is absolutely crucial. Now on to part two of the video, so training. So first of all, as I've been saying throughout the video, you start it slow, you build it up. People say 3 times 12 is bad. It's all about getting into the routine slowly but surely, building it up, because as I said earlier, if you can't withstand a low demanding routine, and if you can't show up to the gym for a month or two using a low demanding routine, how on earth do you think that you're going to show up with a high demanding routine? Okay, so you've got to slowly build it up. Once you get consistent and once your body has fully adapted, then you can start pushing the boundaries. And that perfectly brings me on to my second point in terms of, you know, training, and, you know, how I've, you know, turned myself into who I am today, right? You've got to become comfortable with discomfort, right? You've got to accept discomfort, and you've got to accept, and you've got to chase, and you've got to seek pain, because they will become your best friends, right? Discomfort and pain throughout the gym will become your best friends, because in order to actually grow your muscles, it's hard, it's painful. So you're going to be in discomfort, you're going to be in pain, but those are the things you need in order to grow. And what you've got to remember is that pain is temporary, right? So you've just got to be able to put yourself through as much pain in the moment as physically possible, and then after the set you're going to feel good because you've actually done what's needed to grow, and you've pushed your limits, and you haven't left anything in the tank. So you've got to become comfortable with becoming uncomfortable, if that makes sense to you. When you're on that leg press, when you're on that leg extension, you've got to remember that this pain is temporary and it doesn't last forever, and you've just got to push yourself in the limit. You've got to push your limits in the moment, and then you get the rewards after. Remember, you've got to actually, you know, you've actually got to do the actions that are required in order to achieve the outcome, which is you sculpting your physique. So in the moment, you've got to put yourself through discomfort. You've got to put yourself through physical pain, and you've got to put yourself through absolute brutality during every set, and that is going to lead to you sculpting your physique. So once you've started slowly, and once you've actually got into routine, then you can start looking at training more intense and harder, and you know, and then you can look into having a higher demanding routine, right? Because that's how you grow. You train to failure, you push your limits every single day, and that is what stimulates enough muscle growth, right? Because in order to actually stimulate muscle growth, you need to give the muscle the stimulus that is required, and that is through training hard and pushing your limits and pushing yourself through pain, discomfort, brutality, and training to failure. That is how you do that. So once you start slow and you build it up, then you start ramping up the intensity. And so this perfectly brings me on to my next point, which I want to talk about in terms of how I've actually sculpted my physique, right? You have to be progressively overloading. You have to be constantly challenging your body in pushing the limits, you know, breaking the boundaries, right? And what progressive overloading actually consists of is just continuously challenging your body with higher intensity, higher reps and volume, or, you know, increasing the weight on the exercise, for example. And this is absolutely crucial, because without this you can't grow, because your body seeks balance, right? Remember what I was talking about the adaptation, right? If you slowly start and you or just at any point in your gym journey in general, right, your body starts to adapt to your workout, because it recognizes the workout patterns, recognizes the exercise patterns and how much stress you're putting on the muscle, etc., etc. So your muscles and your body eventually adapts to what you're doing. And if you don't continuously keep challenging your body to higher intensity, higher volume, which is reps, and increasing the weight on the exercises, then you're going to plateau and you're going to stay at the same, because you're not continuously challenging your body, because your body's adapted and you're not pushing your body and continuously challenging yourself, which is going to stimulate further adaptation and more muscle growth. So you're going to stay at the same. You're not going to make progression if you don't progressively overload. So you've got to be consistently challenging your body, pushing yourself to failure, increasing the intensity, increasing the volume, and increasing the amount of weight you're doing on your exercises, and really slowly just increasing it over time. And I want to give you guys a little bit of a framework towards actually progressively overloading. So obviously there's two different types of exercises to progressively overload on, and there's two different types of exercises in the gym and in bodybuilding primarily. So you've got your compound exercises and you've got your isolation exercises. I've been through this in my previous videos, but I'll go through it again. So a compound exercise basically refers to an exercise where more than one muscle group is involved in order to help the repetition go up. So for example, on bench press, the primary muscle that is targeted is your chest, right? But in order to help the repetition happen, your front delt and your triceps come into play when you push up. So that's why it's a compound movement. And in order to progressively overload with compound movements, you want to be going pretty low and you want to slowly build up. So what I would suggest you do is I would suggest you have a progressively overloading rep range. So at 6 reps, you start at 6 reps and then you slowly work your way up to 10 reps with that weight. And then once you get to the higher upper echelon of that rep range, so between 8 and 10, I would say, if you're pretty comfortable with that, then also just increasing the weight to the next one up. So for example, if I was an incline dumbbell press, which I did earlier today, right? I just got back from my session. I did 42 and a halves for 7 reps, right? So I still need to keep going on 42 and a halves until I feel comfortable and until it feels pretty easy when I get between 8, 9, 10 reps. And then once I've done that, then I can increase the weight to the 45 kilo dumbbells, and then I can get 6 reps and 7 reps of that again. So you've got to slowly increase it over time. It's not about the big increases, it's about the really slow increases. And the other exercise you can progressively overload with is isolation exercises. And isolation exercises basically refer to an exercise that involves a singular muscle in order to help the repetition go up. So for example, with dumbbell lateral raises, it's only the side deltoid that helps the repetition go up. Nothing else comes into play. It's just a singular muscle group. So that's what an isolation exercise is. So in order to progressively overload on isolation exercises, what I would do is, I mean, obviously it really depends on the isolation exercise, but any rep range from anywhere between 8 to, I would say, 15, 16 reps, right? So you keep working yourself up until you get to the upper bracket of that rep range, and then once you get around to that 14, 15, 16, maybe even higher rep range, then you can increase the weight, and then you can start again, and then you keep going, and then you increase the weight again, and then you rinse and repeat both of those ways to progressively overload with those different types of exercises, right? So making sure you progressively overload is absolutely crucial, because you need to make sure your body is constantly adapting. You need to make sure you're constantly pushing your limits, otherwise you're just going to remain the same and you're not going to actually get better, right? Now on to the next thing you need to actually master. So obviously consistency and discipline. And obviously at the start of your gym journey, as I said, it's going to be very hard to master discipline, and discipline comes over time with consistent practices. So you've got to build on this consistency at the start. So what I have been saying, start slow, low demanding. It doesn't matter if you don't like training hard. It doesn't matter if you're doing 3 sets of 12, and it doesn't matter if you're going against what people say and you need to train to failure. It doesn't fucking matter, okay? You start slow. You start with a very low demanding routine, and then you slowly build it up. And then once you start meeting these little demands, and then once you start having a better relationship with yourself, because you can actually meet these demands and you can stay consistent, then you can slowly start to build on it. And that is where the discipline comes in. And this is where the discipline comes in. If you go, as I said, if I wanted to start playing football again and I just jump straight into a day in the life of Cristiano Ronaldo, I wouldn't stick to it, right? You need to build up the consistency first. You need to really, really slowly build it up, and then the discipline's going to come in. When you don't feel like it, you still show up. Whether you really feel like it or whether you don't, it's just another day and you keep showing up. And you've got to start slowly in order to make that happen, because if you go full steam ahead into a really intense workout, then the likelihood of you not sticking to it and you showing up on days you don't feel like it is going to be very high. So slowly start and then build it up. Now, moving on to the final thing that I'm going to talk about in relation to training and building up. And this is probably the most important thing. And beginners don't realise this, so you need to bloody listen up, because you're going to get ahead of so many people if you actually take in this information. So you need to prioritise and work on mastering your technique in the gym. And this is because when skinny young men and when people in general start the gym, obviously they want to be lifting heavy weights and they want to be as strong as possible. But what you need to realise is that strength doesn't necessarily correlate to muscle growth. And I have another video on that, but you need to realise that good technique equals muscle growth. If you're going heavy, if you're really pushing yourself, but your form and your technique is sacrificed because of that heavy weight, then you're not going to get good results. However, if you actually went lighter and you perform the exercise properly and you stimulate the muscle properly, giving the muscle enough time on attention and giving the muscle enough isolation, then you're going to stimulate more muscle growth. And what you need to actually realise is how muscle growth actually works. So you need to be able to give your muscle, and you need to be able to provide your muscle with a deep enough stimulus that is required in order to micro tear the muscle fibers in your muscles. Therefore, the larger you micro tear your muscle fibers inside your muscles, the larger the repairs they're going to have to undergo. Therefore, the more they're going to grow. But if you don't have good technique, then you're not going to be able to give your muscle the time and attention and the isolation and the focus and the isolation that it needs in order to achieve the stimulus required in order to grow muscle. So you need to make sure whatever you do in order to grow muscle, you need to be able to activate your muscle and give it the deep enough stimulus required. So that that means you need to be able to master your technique, and you need to be able to prioritize technique over anything. And I just want to give another example and another concept for you guys to think about in terms of why mastering technique is so important. So in golf, right? In golf, having a powerful swing doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to be a good golfer. So what I mean by this example, right? In golf, if you have a powerful swing but you have bad technique, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to hit the ball far. You could literally hit the ball 2 yards away from you because you've completely mistimed the swing and you don't have proper technique. Therefore, even though you have a powerful swing, it doesn't mean you're going to hit the ball far. Therefore, you're going to hinder your ability as a golf player. And in contrast, a golfer with a great swing and actually has good technique can probably hit the ball further than the person that's more powerful than them. So, for example, the one of the strongest bodybuilders of all time may be able to generate more power when swinging a golf ball, but his technique is absolutely awful compared to a skinny little golf player who weighs half the weight he does. Can probably it will most certainly hit the ball further because they have good technique. And it's the exact same thing with the gym. Just because you lift heavy and just because you may be a little bit strong, it doesn't mean that you're going to grow muscle without having proper technique. And in contrast, if you have proper technique and you stimulated the muscle properly and you may have gone a little bit lighter, you're going to be able to stimulate more muscle growth than the person that's just lifting for their ego, right? So it's so important that you prioritize technique and you go a little bit lighter so you actually know what it feels like to activate the muscle properly, give the muscle the time and attention it needs, and then you can start to build on it. And then once you can combine lifting heavy with good technique, then you're going to stimulate maximal muscle growth. So that is the end of part 2. Now on to part 3 of this video, so the diet side of this video. So diet is absolutely crucial, right? If you can't back up your training with the diet, and if you can't feed your muscles what they actually need to be fed, then they're not going to grow. It's like if you don't feed a baby enough food throughout its childhood, the likelihood of it not actually growing much is going to be very high. And if you don't feed your baby enough, nutritious foods and what it actually needs to be fed, it's probably not going to be able to develop properly, right? So, I mean, it's not as extreme as that, right? But if you don't back up the training with diet, and if you don't feed your muscles what it actually needs to be fed with, then how do you think your muscles are going to grow? So let me swiftly get into the diet side of this video. So as a skinny young man watching this, you need to make sure that you are in a calorie surplus and that you are bulking. And what a bulk is basically a period of time where you gain weight. So you do this through eating in a caloric surplus. And a calorie surplus is basically when you eat enough food in a day where the total amount of what you've consumed is more than what your body actually needs in order to stay at the same weight. So for example, so you eat in excess to what your body actually needs in order to gain weight. So for example, if your maintenance calories, so the amount of calories and the amount of food you needed to consume in a day was 2,000 calories, and you consume 2,000 calories, then you stay at the same weight and you completely maintain your weight. So if you weighed 70 kilos and your maintenance was 2,000 calories every day and you ate 2,000 calories every day, you would stay at the same weight. But what you need to do is you need to gain weight. So you need to eat in a caloric surplus. So what you need to do, if your maintenance is 2,000 calories, you'd need to eat around 2,250 calories to 2,350 calories in order to eat in excess and eat more than what your body actually needs in order to put on the weight. And it's the exact same thing with if you want to lose weight, but it's the completely opposite, right? If you want to lose weight, you want to eat less than what your body actually needs. So if your maintenance was 2,000 calories, you'd eat between 1,850 and 1,750 calories to start with in order to lose weight. It goes both ways, but what you want to do in order to gain muscle as a skinny young man is you need to eat in a calorie surplus. So eating in excess what your body actually needs by 250 calories to 350 calories more every day. So in order to actually get consistent with a calorie surplus, because at the start when you're trying to bulk, it's very hard, not just physically but mentally, eating a lot of food and eating more than what your body actually needs, regardless of your size and how many calories you need to eat, it's bloody challenging. Okay, so you need to slowly build it up. So you need to start with the portion sizes. You need to start with smaller portion sizes. So for example, my bulking breakfast usually when I bulk would be 6 eggs, a bit smoked salmon in between, and 2 bits of toast. And that's probably around 900 to 1,000 calories, right? But you as a skinny young man, you would not eat that at the start, because it's the exact same thing with the training. If you just eat in a surplus straight away, and if you stick to a very highly demanding diet straight away, the likelihood of you sticking to it and you staying consistent and you hitting a calorie surplus every day is going to be not likely at all, and you're not going to at all. Therefore, you're not going to bulk and you're not going to gain weight and you're not going to gain muscle. So what you need to do, instead of eating what I would eat, for example, because I've slowly built it up over time, instead of eating 6 eggs and all that stuff, what you would probably start with is you maybe start with seeing if you can eat 3 eggs and 1 bit of toast. And then if that gets comfortable for you, then what you would do is then you slowly increase that to maybe 4 eggs and 1 bit of toast, or 3 eggs and 2 bits of toast. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So you slowly got to build it up over time. And a couple of other things that can really, really, really help you in order to actually stay and eat in a caloric surplus is to be wise with what you eat. Be efficient with the foods you eat. So make sure you're eating calorie dense foods. So what a calorie dense foods are and what a calorie dense meal basically consists of is a meal that's it's got higher calories in, so it's very highly calorific. It's got multiple different foods in it, and the portion size is probably it's going to be a little bit smaller. So higher calories in a smaller portion. Therefore, you're not going to be feeling as full, and you're still going to have a little bit of an appetite. Therefore, the likelihood of you consuming enough calories throughout the day in order to stay in the surplus is going to be very high. So, for example, a highly calorie dense meal would be meatballs and pasta, for example. That's a very high caloric dense meal. So you want to be consuming meals like that in order to gain weight, and they're really crucial at the start. And you'd also want to be, I would say, consuming liquid calories, so protein shakes, making sure you're consuming protein shakes is absolutely crucial, because getting protein in at the start is just absolutely key, and I'll get into that in my next point about diet as well. When you drink protein shakes, for example, you're not going to necessarily feel as full when you consume them, as they're called invisible calories. So you're still going to have an appetite, and you're still going to be hungry, and the likelihood of you consuming enough food in order to gain weight is going to be high. So taking advantage of those things, making sure you're as efficient as possible throughout the day. So eating highly caloric dense meals and having things such as protein shakes throughout the day is what is going to propel you to eating in a caloric surplus. And now, on to my second point about diet. So I have made sure that I have eaten highly nutritious foods, right? Obviously, at the start, it wasn't that way, right? My diet at the start was dog shit. But the more I've built it up, and the more I've actually taken care of my diet, and the more I eat healthy foods, and the less I eat shit foods, the more I've grown, and the more muscle I've been able to put on, because I've been able to feed my muscles the nutrients it needs to be fed in order to back up the training, therefore I can grow. So you need to be consuming high protein, you need to be consuming high carbohydrates, you need to be consuming your healthy fats, and protein is absolutely crucial, and you need to make sure you increase your protein in your diet. And this is because protein provides amino acids, and amino acids are the building block, the foundation towards building muscle. And this is because after exercise, when you're consuming protein, amino acids basically break down, they go into your muscle fibers, and they basically help you repair and grow. Remember what I was talking about in terms of repairing the muscle fibers. And obviously high carbs, because you need to be able to replenish your glycogen stores, because if you want to train hard, you need to have high amounts of energy, and making sure you have your glycogen stores replenished and you have high carbohydrates in your system. This provides energy. Carbohydrates provide energy, so you need to be making sure that you are, you're providing your body and you're consuming high amounts of carbohydrates. Therefore, your performance in the gym is going to go up, and you're going to be able to lift more. You're going to be able to train more intense, and that is going to lead to you growing more, right? And you need to be able to consume healthy fats, because they don't consuming healthy fats doesn't necessarily contribute towards muscle growth, but it helps complement factors that contribute towards muscle growth. So, for example, making sure that you're consuming healthy fats leads to you actually, balancing your hormones better and having a better hormonal balance, such as, improving your testosterone in your body, which is so important. And as a man, that is the hormone testosterone, which contributes towards increasing the rate of muscle repair and muscle growth. Eating in a caloric surplus, and once you've actually started to, once you build up the consistency with that, then you can look into actually making sure you're consuming highly nutritious foods and feeding your body and giving your muscles and feeding your muscles the nutritious foods it needs in order to grow. So diet is absolutely crucial, right? Diet is absolutely key. And once you get your training in place, diet is just as, if not more important. Now onto the final section of the video. Feels like I've been recording forever. I don't know how long this video is going to be. But the final part of this video. So now you know about building out the foundation. So starting out slowly and building up. Now you know about the training. So obviously starting out slow with the training and building up. And then training hard and intense and pushing your body to its limits so it can continue to adapt and grow. And now you know about the diet. So eating in a caloric surplus. Eating more than what your body actually needs, and eating in excess in order to gain weight. And eating and consuming highly nutritious foods in order to actually feed your muscles what it needs to, in order to help the processes of repair and growth, and actually training harder just to help optimize those processes, right? So now you know about all of that stuff. Now part 4, you need to be sensible, and there's two main things I'm going to be talking about in this little section of the video, and it's going to take me I'll be really quick covering it, right? So you need to make sure that you're giving your body enough rest and recovery time. And this is so important, because muscle growth actually happens when you rest. If you keep training, you're not going to let those micro tears that you've torn down from the previous session repair. Those repairs happen when you're actually not training and when you're resting. And if you keep training, then you're going to keep training with muscle soreness, because you haven't let these tears in your muscles actually recover. Therefore, you're going to be hindering your growth, because you're going to keep you're going to keep fatiguing your muscle, and this is going to lead to burnout, and this is going to lead to you probably getting injured as well. And you're going to have the quality of your sessions is going to go down because you're going to be fatigued, you're going to be tired because you haven't let your body recover. Therefore, your performance is going to go down. You're going to be lifting lighter weights because you know your muscles are weaker. So you need to be able to rest and recover. And what I would highly suggest for you is going to the gym no more than 5 days a week, ensuring that your body gets enough rest and recovery in order to allow these processes to happen. So in order to allow your body to repair the damage done from the previous session, because if you go into, for example, if your chest is still really, really messed up from last week's chest session, but you're going into this chest session and you're still sore, but you're going to show up because, you know, show up when you don't feel like it, obviously. But you need to be able to listen to your body. You need to be able to know when to recover and when to show up when you don't feel like it, right? If your chest is still sore and you go into the gym to hit chest, do the sensible thing and don't hit chest. Either turn back and go home or hit something else, right? So you need to make sure you're having enough rest and recovery. And this is what I have made sure that I prioritized and I got in place very, very quickly. It honestly helps so much. And when you don't rest enough, you're going to suffer from burnout. You're going to be more likely to get injured. Your performance in the gym is going to go down. You're going to probably plateau with all your exercises because, as I said, the reduced performance, you're going to be weak. You're not going to be lifting as heavy, and your muscles aren't going to be prepared enough, and they're not going to be fully recovered. And you're going to have a lower mood because you're going to be tired and you're going to be fatigued, and you're going to be in a worse mood, which can also contribute to worse mental health. And your hormones aren't going to be balanced because you're not letting your body recover because of this burnout and this fatigue, and therefore, and you're not going to be able to sleep well, right? Which is absolutely crucial. So you need to be making sure you're getting enough rest and recovery, and this is something that's been so important in relation to me actually sculpting my physique today. And this is what most people don't realize. So now you realize this, and if you're still here, you're ahead of the game. And the last thing that I'm going to be going into is stop ego lifting. No ego lifting. Stop letting your ego get to you and lift weights that you can't lift. Okay, ego lifting is so bad because remember what I said. The heavier weights that you lift, if you don't have good technique, then that doesn't necessarily correlate to muscle growth. You need to be able to give your muscle the required stimulus and a deep enough stimulus in order to grow muscle. And if you're lifting weight that's not in your means, you sacrifice form and technique for that, you are ego lifting. Therefore, you're not going to be giving your muscle the stimulus it needs and that is required in order to undergo muscle growth in the long term. So you need to just stop ego lifting, and other things that it will contribute to as well. You're going to reduce your longevity in the gym because the likelihood of you injuring yourself is going to be a lot higher, because when you ego lift, you just care about getting a rep up. You don't care about the technique. You don't care about stimulating the muscle. Therefore, body parts that shouldn't come into play are going to help the rep. So the chances of you putting strain on body parts that's completely unnecessary is going to be high. Therefore, the chances of you being, you know, your longevity in the gym is going to be a lot shorter, right? You're not going to be in the gym for as long. And remember that gym is a long time game, and if you want to see progress, it's over a long period of time. So you need to be bloody sensible, and you're going to get injured probably because you're not taking care of business, and you're going to be, as I said, putting strain on parts of your body that shouldn't have strain. So the likelihood of you injuring yourself, and you're going to be more vulnerable to injury. You're going to be restricting your muscle growth, and you're going to be hindering your progression in the gym if your main target is to grow muscle, which I assume it is, because you're not going to be able to stimulate the muscle and give the muscle the stimulus that is required in order to grow muscle. So that now finally is the end of the video, and that is all of the 4 parts. So making sure you lay down the foundations, making sure you're training properly, so starting small, starting slow, building it up, and then training hard, making sure you're doing the exact same thing with the diet, slowly building it up, you know, building up the meal sizes, and then you eat in that caloric surplus, and you feed your body nutritious foods, and you keep it sensible. So making sure you give your body enough rest and recovery. You're listening to your body. If your body is telling you that it needs to rest, you bloody rest, and you don't go to the gym, even if you kind of want to, right? And you don't ego lift. There, I would say the main, and all of those things that I talked about, I would say, are the main things that have contributed to me actually sculpting my physique today. Obviously, there's more to it, and I can go into detail with a lot more of those things. And if you want to actually listen to me go into a lot more detail, then my school community is down below in the description if you're interested. But I feel like they're the main things that need to be covered, and they're the main things that you need to know as a skinny young man embarking on your gym journey. So if you have enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like, a comment, and a subscription down below, because you know, if you like this video and you want to learn more from me, then the algorithm is going to recommend me to you more, right? And if you feel interested in my school community, if you're a skinny young man who is struggling to gain weight, then join the brotherhood, join the other young skinny young men embarking on the same journey as you, and I will be there to guide you and help you in my school community. So without further ado, I will see you guys in the next video. Whoop.